Hello there, wherever you are, whenever you are. It's me, Addison, your favourite friendly furball who hangs around the internet, and I am back with another episode of the Pod of Many Things. And today I'm joined by someone who I've been quite excited to talk to. They've been kind enough to let me have a copy of their product to have a look at before this episode and my review, and that is Greenbirds RPGs, the man, the myth, the legend. So how about you introduce yourself, you say hello, and let's talk a little bit about Greenbird RPGs as a collective first, and then we'll dive straight into the product.
Okay, well, my name's Richard. I'm like one of the people behind Greenbird, Greenbird RPGs. We've been making D&D content primarily on the DM's Guild for 4 years now, 3.5 years, roughly. We've released like 40 products, I think, or at least like 40 things, along with a couple of collaborations. Yeah, it's been a long and interesting process, I have to say, because we started off with like zero experience, apart from whatever stuff we've had from our other jobs, and just built it up from there. And I think now we're creating stuff which is quite interesting, but it's been a long road with a lot of learning, which we've all enjoyed. But yeah, there's three of us. There's myself, Richard, Darvis, who is illustrator and writer, and Katerina as well, or Kat, also illustrator and writer. We're based in Latvia, the other side of Europe, and we all live like fairly close. So we've played D&D together in the last few years, and that's how it is, really, I suppose.
You're based in Latvia. Oh, yeah, that's cool. I did see that in the thing that there was like Nordic and like European fairy folk tales.
Yeah, I say that's one of our influences. I mean, we did a thing for what was it, like a collaboration for? That was it. Artifacts of the Old World. I don't know if there's the European DM's Guild creation group. They did a couple of collaborative projects based around old European myths and legends. So obviously the English contingent went with stuff like Excalibur and things like that, but we had sort of Greek magic items, and we brought in some more Baltic stuff as well. Yeah.
So are you born and bred in the Baltics, or?
Oh no, I'm not. I'm English.
I was going to say. I was kind of confused. I was like, am I going to be rude if I ask that? But no. So you emigrated to Latvia?
Yeah, I moved out here 9 years ago. But Darvis and Kat are both Latvian.
So. I'm guessing that was for work or something. Oh, I've got you. So
no, it wasn't actually. It wasn't not for work.
Oh,
it's a very strange story, but
maybe another time when alcohol is involved.
Something like that. Yeah. Well, actually, it's not so bad. I mean, it was primarily because I was playing a lot of music at the time and touring. It just felt the need to get out of the UK for a little while, and ended up moving here because it was quite cheap and good to tour from. And then I just ended up staying. Really. So
that's wicked. Like music is like one of my other passions as well. So I understand that following bands and stuff. Like tour life can be pretty draining, especially if you have to go like across Europe, all the different time zones and stuff, and different customs and languages.
Yeah, it's not so bad. I've actually found European promoters to be a lot easier going, and they treat you a lot better than they do in the UK. So
makes sense.
Yeah, you just get a lot more. Like, you don't have to worry about somewhere to sleep or food and things like that. The little things which in the UK they're kind of not so prevalent unless you're dealing with like really good promoters.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
it's been an interesting life. So, not something I do so much these days.
that's fair enough. So we're here to talk about your latest release, Greenbird's Guide to the Feywild, which is a comprehensive guide to the Feywild, some cool Fey locations. You've given some like adventures for use.
Yeah,
Different
so
tiers.
I mean, really, the entire point of the product was to kind of create a one-stop shop for a DM to go, I want to play a game in the Feywild. What do I need for that? Here is everything that you need. So rather than going through like dozens of different things, different other products, you've kind of got everything here you can run a mini campaign from. With adventures which you can use to cross into the Feywild and also take your players out of it as well, if they, if that's what they desire. And like locations they can stop off at, creatures they can meet, magic items they can find, and like NPCs effectively. Plus a ton of encounters which you can just pad adventures out with and travel.
Yeah, I quite like the fact that I was going to describe it as that, like that one-stop shop.
Yeah,
where you can just grab something. If you're kind of familiar with the Feywild, you can pretty much plug and play anything from this into a Feywild campaign. You can use it to further bolster your knowledge of the Feywild, because I feel like there's not a lot of Feywild material, extra-planar material actually in general, unless you're talking about Hell, because edgelords and all that is like really thin on the ground. Like,
I mean, when we were making this, I found it a real struggle to find anything in 5e at least. So I kind of went back a little bit to 4th and 3rd edition and sort of like pulling little scraps out there to put this in. I mean, really, I didn't want it to be like full of lore, so that because I kind of feel because 5e is so empty of Feywild material, it's the sort of thing a DM is just going to have to make up for themselves. So I didn't want there to be like a conflict of whatever the DM with their campaign world, their envisioning of the Feywild. I didn't want that to conflict with what we've got. But they, as you say, they could just like pull out these things and fit them very neatly in, because they're kind of like system neutral, I suppose you say, or Feywild neutral. So they just slot in very, very easily. But there is some allusions to previous editions, versions of the Feywild.
Yeah, no, I thought that because like we met because of, I think, or we spoke for the first time on Twitter because I think I was ranting about the fact that like, why do I not have any Feywild material in like 5e? And I suppose your vision, what you've done here, is actually you couldn't do this like with Hell, for example, because Hell is very ordered and very structured. Whereas in the Feywild, you can just make it up. It's one of those places that has that spirit of like creativity and chaos. And
exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of room there to maneuver when you're just creating stuff. So it's it felt like a good sandbox, really, just to make new things in. And that's also like a good term actually to use for this. It's like it is designed for use in a sandbox style campaign. Just drop stuff in and off you go.
One of the things I did want to talk about with it, apart from that, like almost like ingredient nature, I think that's one of the ways I describe it. It's like the ingredients, like you can pull them out, put them in the pot, and then put them back. Is like the look of this book as well, like this. Even I've only got the PDF form, like I'm not gonna moan at all. It's very pretty, very beautiful. The illustrations, while some people might not be like, oh well, these aren't like Wizards of the Coast level like design or anything.
I can't stand Wizards of the Coast designs, to be honest. Yeah, I really don't like the contemporary look of the books.
But my thing I really like about it is it fits like the changeling aspect of the Feywild. Like the art style is very conducive to set the tone for the Feywild. Like this place is amorphous and is like it changes and it's very fluid. It doesn't. It's not like all dark and blocky and these are hard lines. It's like I'm kind of looking at the title page for the Fey Adventures part on page 11 with like the I'm guessing that's like a wood nymph or an eladrin like sat in front of a tree. And I think
yeah, I think it's meant to be a dryad actually.
dryad,
Yeah.
wood nymph sat in front of a tree, and the fact that like the tree doesn't have any like major hard lines, and like she almost it frames her really well, but like the art of it also has that thing of like she could just blend into the background if she wanted to, like, and I think that is very indicative and captures the Feywild almost perfectly. Like it's like this chaotic, scary place where things will jump the fuck out at you if needs be. Is that what you're going for with that art?
Well, I just leave that up to Darvis and Kat. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, really, like, I think we were trying to go for like a slightly whimsical, but with an underlying edge of maybe like a tiny edge of horror in there. You know, like the unnerving aspect of it. That's kind of, and yeah, the element of the unknown as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that sort of like the weird transitional nature of the Feywild as well is kind of quite neatly captured in their illustrations. Yeah, very whimsical, definitely some stuff. I really like the satyr actually on page 27. He's having a snooze underneath the autumnal trees. That's one of Darvis's.
Yeah, I've seen that one. I also quite like some of the. So for those people, hopefully who haven't seen the book, I do recommend you get it. But like, I also quite like the doodle-esque, like the sketch-esque drawings in like the single colors. So like, there's like a purple bit, just for those people listening. There's like a purple bit, and then in that is like a white outline of like something. So one of my favorites is actually one of the first bits is the sundial. Like the sundial.
Oh yeah, the all-seeing sundial.
Yeah.
I really like that style. And Darvis came up with that for. I think we'd used it previously on some of the magic item supplements that we'd done, and it just kind of really leaves a lot to the imagination, and it just works. It just works. I just really like it. I love the way he just sort of, you know, he has like two colours on for two different illustrations, and it's sort of like slightly blended in the middle, and yeah, it's just. I think it's perfect for what we want to show. Really, it's not too showy, not too flashy, and it's not too anime either, which I really like.
Yeah, no, because I feel like there's either the D&D aesthetic, which is like contemporary, like digital, hyper like realism, and then there's like anime. Like there's no like middle ground. Whereas I feel like this is quite a nice like.
I think it's like opening up someone's sketchbook, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just a smorgasbord of ideas, just briefly sketched down. And I mean that is kind of what some of these things are as well. Like we're just trying to give people ideas, more than like you know. Something.
More than like a supplement from Wizards, which is like, this is what you've got to do. This is how this looks. Yours is a bit more like, well, if you want to use this is what it might look like.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how I play the game, really. Especially when I'm DMing, I tend to improvise a lot and come up with stuff on the fly. I have to have a notebook in front of me, so as I'm doing it, I'm keeping a note of it and for future sessions. But it's very similar to the way we've made these, like for example, the locations. You know, you want to give an idea which someone can just utilize straight away. So not a lot of mechanics, and not a lot of like description or lore, but enough there to make it really interesting for the players to invest in straight away, and for the DM to like just be able to drop it straight in session. You know, literally by having it in front of them, going, "All right, this is a good idea." Quickly read it and drop it in.
I definitely get that impression that like there's like it is more like an ideas pad and like this sketch pad rather than like this is how you should do the Feywild. And again, I think that way of doing it especially for the Feywild is like really good, because again, if we believe it, the very limited amount of things even in 4th and 3rd edition that we've got for the Feywild, like it's always changing. Things are never the same when you go back twice. Even if you go back to the same place, it may not be the same, because of just how like wild and emotional and bright and like passionate and intense the Feywild is. So having that like rough outline, but not like a prescriptive thing, is a really good idea. And I think this is really good at getting that across and having fun with it. Like it sounds fun, like it is fun, you know. Like
yeah, exactly. Like I mean, we just want it to be more just a bit silly at times. Actually, I think I certainly try to inject quite a reasonable amount of humour in it, and an equivalent amount of horribleness as well, like classic European folk stories. They have that element of frivolity, but also have some sort of underlying just sheer naked terror or horror or something just grim there. You know, your original Brothers Grimm stories before they were actually edited to be a lot nicer than they actually are.
I was going to say that like it has that kind of like Hans Christian Andersen Brothers Grimm-esque like this is what the original fairy tale should be. This is what the Feywild should be. You may have heard of it like this, like and then it's in that connection between the 2 points that you get like that horrific thing of like, oh my god, like that's really bad. Like so for like the Little Mermaid, for example, the fact that she got legs and she gave up her voice, but she also was in constant pain forever. And then when it didn't work out, because she didn't have a voice, she just turned into sea foam. And you're kind of there like re-thinging your thing of the Little Mermaid, and that's the terrifying part. Like, oh my god, like
exactly, yeah, and it's I've yet to find like folk stories which are different, frankly. So, I mean, they kind of underpin our culture in many ways. So regurgitate over and over again, telling the same stories, but they seem to have got like a lot less nuanced now, simply because they have been kind of stripped of that folk horror element. And what I really liked about sort of the concept of Feywild is you can bring that back in. I'm not a big fan of like grim dark stuff, I must admit, but I think with this this sort of setting, you can have both that frivolousness, thanks, and whimsy, coupled with the underlying horror of children being baked in ovens and stuff like that. Not that we've put anything that harms children in this supplement, DM's Guild. There is nothing like that at all, so it doesn't go against your guidelines.
No, it is interesting to know that, like, and I think that's one of the things about the Feywild that's always been like major intriguing to me personally. It's like there is so much colour and vibrancy that there is always going to be a very dark and long shadow that comes from that as well. So the one can't exist without the other, and especially if we look at like its sister plane, if you would, the Shadowfell, which is like the emotionless, like grey, monotonous, like plane of just inertia. Like nothing happens. Like the Feywild is the exact opposite of that. Things happen really quickly, like that, and but then obviously because those things are so hyped up, and so things are going to be darker, and the undertones of things are going to be a bit more, because inhibitions and possibilities are turned up to 11, if that makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah, I think a lot of those elements are just like kind of hyper, I suppose, like a lot more like inflated from reality.
Why is? Oh, sorry. You go. Keep going.
No, go. I just lost my train of thought.
It's all right. I was going to ask. So, what are your main challenges, or your favorite things? Because it may not be a challenge, but it might be something that you spent a lot of time on because you really enjoyed it. What was the big moment in like creating this supplement?
Finishing it.
Just finishing it in general.
It's just so much relief. It took us. Normally, we don't really take a long time to make the sort of things that we release. I'm not saying we don't spend a lot of time on them. It just doesn't. We tend to make something in the space of a couple of months, and because of the way we work, we have like 2 or 3 things in the pipeline at any one point.
Mm-hmm.
But that kind of changed when it came to doing this supplement. I think really like because of COVID and a few other things, like broken arms and that, we lost a lot of inertia on the creation, and that really made the entire project lag. So actually just getting through to the end kind of just felt like the biggest the biggest step. I don't think there was anything in it that was particularly hard to work through. A lot of it, at least the sketches of, were made very early.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we basically work with a Trello board that we just have like a big Google document on that we're just chucking ideas into, and then it just gets written up, and the writing came very easily. I think the adventures actually were a little bit more troublesome, especially editing them down into a format which for us felt easy for a DM just to take on board quite quickly without giving massive info dumps or things like that. Just so it's like, as you read through it, you take it on board and you know exactly where to go with the next bit. And there's some troublesome aspects with the layout as well, but because that's something I do, and I've just found a typo. Oh my god! That's something I do, and it's something I've been like teaching myself on InDesign for the last sort of year and a half, after moving off of just doing it all on Word, which is just a horrible program to do this sort of stuff on.
Yeah, Word's not conducive for formatting.
Yeah, I know. So many people use it though. Like, I just don't get it.
I'm trying to write a novel and I can't even like format my novel properly. I'm just like, as soon as I press tab, I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered to like do it. So I'm just going to do it as Word tells me to, because obviously that's right. And then everybody's like, no, this is not how you do this. I'm like, no.
Yeah. I mean, I used to use Word a lot for work before I moved out here. It's like the best way to do it is just like actually set up a template with all the formatting in it, so you just write straight into it. But that creates a lot of forethought. If you're just free flow writing, it's not so
helpful.
Not so helpful because you have to go back and adjust everything. But I find InDesign really easy to work with. It's just there's a lot of like nice little nuances there which I'm still getting used to, and parts of the program which I'm not so knowledgeable on. I'm not, but I think that was quite a big stepping stone for us too.
I'm glad. I'm glad that like because it is really good. Like you might have spotted a typo, but I haven't spotted it. So I've obviously been too deep because like even some of the items are like really interesting. Like I think my favorite one, like my favorite item, and everybody's gonna be like, the sword is the best thing. The sword of fairy felling is the best item, like in it. And I'm like, nah. My favorite one's the skeleton fey.
Oh,
Because of the fact that it's the perfect lockpick, but it makes tons of noise as you try and pick a lock. It's like, oh, that's so clever. That's so funny. Like, do you want the +8 to lockpicking checks? Okay, well, for 100 feet, everybody can hear you trying to do this, and it's like, yes, this is so funny. Because yeah,
I think that's one of Darvis's or Cat's. I can't remember.
it,
Yeah, I really like the humour behind some of these items. I mean, yeah. Oh, the sort of fairy felling is actually a tween reference.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know the Queen song, "The Fairy Fella's Master Stroke."
Yeah.
It's pretty much referenced straight in there.
Yeah, because you've got Spear of the Emerald Forest, which is a quite cool item, especially for like spears. Satyrs Folly is interesting because obviously satyrs are known as these like party going, like absolute like drinkers, and then there's this thing where anyone drinking for this amount needs to make a DC 14 or be polymorphed into a rabbit. Brilliant. The grails and stuff like they're just really cool little like little items that have some really cool extra details to them that people go, oh, I don't need that, but you know what, actually it gives the item a lot of flavor. Like for example, the skeleton fey again, even though that one's my favorite, like you have to make a choice whether you want to use that. And like, is it a big enough deal that using that to guarantee success, but guarantee also being caught, is worth it?
I think
Like,
it's such a bonus you just do it, wouldn't you? I can see so many people just using it and not worrying about the repercussions.
yeah.
I mean, I must admit, like when we make these items, like quite often we're not really thinking of use by player characters, and that doubly goes for a lot of the magic items we've made in the magic item supplements that we've been making, especially the cursed ones. They're more like flavor for the campaign setting, so they can be used as recipes as well. I think it's something which actually people don't really think about as much. And then when they see like a book of magic items, it's like, what can I give the player characters? And so it's not about just that. They're not the only people going to use these things. The Globe of Winter, for example, I really love because it's so ridiculous. I mean, it's like a winterized nuclear weapon, pretty much. Like,
you give it to a BBEG, and you say, right, my BBEG has this thing that they might use. Come get it, like, and that's really cool, like, because even some of like the magical, like actual like combat items would be like really cool for like say NPCs or enemies that you encounter, like Gleam Guard is interesting. So you even mentioned that they're carried by multiple people. It's not like a one and done item.
Exactly.
Like, so like you can lift one of these from somebody's body, but is it worth it? Like, is it worth trying to get it from them? Is the main thing as well, like, because they might kick your ass. So like, on hit 1d12, Gleam Guard does an additional 1d12 force damage if more than 20 foot of movement has been expended to charge at the target. It also provides +5 to AC when defending against attacks of opportunity. So you're basically a battering ram against a person, which is scary as hell. But then you've got to get it from someone.
Yeah, and considering like elite soldiers' weapons, you can imagine like in a court situation, you know, your elite guards, they're probably going to be a few of them around.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't charge by a group of these guys.
No, not at all. So, you've got quite a few, like, hello, sorry.
So I'm sure.
Oh, sorry, I think we lagged out for a second there.
Ah.
So you have quite a few, like, supplements on DM's Guild. Quite a few of them deal with, like, the Feywild and like more. So you've got like the Feywild Exorcism, a Midsummer Night has dryads and stuff in it. I'm quite interested in the Cursed Bloodlines and Dark Heritages that supplement that you've made. I may have to go and get that in a second. Sorry, I think that was me. I'm quite interested in that. But yeah, what's it like publishing on DM's Guild? Because a lot of people like think about it, and it seems quite scary, seems quite intimidating. How do you find it?
I think we started at like a reasonably good time on there, and things have definitely, in my opinion, changed. I mean, the obvious reasons why we do it is so we can use Wizards of the Coast IP. That's it.
Yeah,
and all our stuff is free. I mean, we're not like massively interested about making a lot of money. It's more about back to the community than making dollar. But I'd actually say generally it's really easy. The process part. What is frustrating is more like promoting the items, and it does feel like now there is been such an increase in quality of type of products being put on there that it's very easy to get lost. We were quite fortunate early on to be picked up by the Games Guild numerous times for our free products, and that meant that we got like a lot of interest and a huge amount of sales and downloads. And when you get that, the impact is felt across everything that you've put out on there. But they've changed the format of that now, and it just doesn't seem quite so accessible, or they're less likely to pick up on stuff. There's less slots on there for things which get put out each week. So I think just the promotion side of things has become a lot harder.
Especially with the renaissance of tabletop RPG gaming in general.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just I think more people have turned to using DM's Guild, like more people with really good skills, frankly, like good storytelling skills, good formatting skills, fantastic writers, and really good illustrators. But I think one of the issues is that actually, like, some of the audience for DM's Guild are looking for that Wizards of the Coast look in their product. You know, it kind of has to look like that style of artwork, that style of writing and formatting, and maybe anything that's like a little bit outside of that is pushed to the side a little bit.
I can understand that. Like, I think that's definitely true. Like, because of the fact as well, it kind of carries the Wizard's name, doesn't it? Like DM's Guild, even though it doesn't have it like directly on there.
Yeah,
you associate it as like official material, and then like almost like the do you follow like football or anything like that? So but you get like league sports, right? You get like the Premier League is like published by Wizards, and then like the Championship, like the next one down, is like DM's Guild, and then there's like different tiers of DM's Guild after that. Like there's like the top selling things in DM's Guild are like things that could be published by Wizards but aren't for whatever reason.
I think they generally have Wizards associated writers attached to them.
Yeah, exactly.
From what I've seen, but they're incredibly high quality products.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like that almost like it's not much of a jump between those two things. Whereas like some people, not myself, admittedly, some people are quite judgy of some of the DMs Guild content that gets put out because it doesn't, like you say, it doesn't look like a finished. They believe it doesn't look like a finished product. However,
Yeah,
I like I said, I like your art style because I think it captures like the whimsical and the and I like it. I like the look of it. I like the aesthetic. So if I'm kind of one of those people who, like, if I see something I like the look of it, I'm probably going to invest some time in it.
I think stuff just needs to look good, but it doesn't have to be like as professionally polished as like the Wizards
Yeah.
Coast material, and there is room for that difference as well. It's just I do feel like the judgment there on what is qualified as being a really good product and what isn't. And having worked in a couple of collaborative endeavors as well, it's kind of interesting how those work. And I mean, you can see from like some of the bigger selling products, they're also like big collaborations, and that's the reason why they do well. Because when you've got a team of like 40 people working on it, that's a lot of promotional output that you have. Whereas
Yeah, and like
us, we're not like social media people. Me, the other two especially, and we do what we do. We put it out there, and we just hope that it reaches an audience. And it's not that easy to do that.
yeah.
Especially,
Yeah,
I mean, we only use Twitter. I only use like Twitter and Reddit a little bit, and Facebook as well. But it's a strange community to try and push stuff into, because a lot of the time I feel people don't want to be spammed. But it's like there aren't really many places where you can actually tell people about what you're making.
it did, I think, with the resurgence of TTRPG and like quarantine, a lot of like tabletop RPG Twitter and everything, like the Reddits and stuff, kind of did at one point become somewhere where everybody had something to sell. Like nobody just talked about the game anymore, or like the love of the passion, and then the kickback of that is now that nobody feels like comfortable like promoting themselves. Like you have this like weird thing of like, oh well, there was that time when everybody just sold all the time. Like there was always like a service or a product or a podcast or something that you were trying to promote. Whereas like now that that's kind of gone, people are now like looking around like, so how do I like advertise and network and all that jazz? Because I don't want to be the guy who everybody calls out for that, because I've had the same sort of thing with this podcast. Like obviously I've taken a break and I'm trying to come back in after having my son, and it's like really difficult because like positivity's banned in certain circles. It's like that's insane. Yeah, like no, it's called some people call it toxic positivity now. I'm like, what even? And then like people are still in this almost like treading on eggshells. Like if I promote too much, am I going to get in trouble? Are people going to hate me? So it is definitely.
I mean, I haven't got a big Twitter following because I don't really use the platform as much as some people who are who have a bigger name, shall we say. But I do notice like I kind of build up a little following, and then I promote something and automatically you see people just drop away. And it's like, oh, okay, well, why are you following me? Like this is a Twitter account specifically for promoting what we do. Like I'm not really on Twitter just for my own good. I mean, if I had my choice, I would probably not use that platform that much, apart from some music bits and pieces. But I don't know. I find the landscape a bit strange for this. It's like you create something, you're proud of it, so you want to tell people about it, and especially when it's so accessible on DM's Guild, but also so swamped by everything else, you kind of do need to raise a voice about it, and you shouldn't feel bad about doing that.
No, not at all.
It's just a matter of how to do it. and how to do it in a way that's comfortable for you as well, and then actually gets results.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're just a lone voice in the void.
Yeah, no, I completely get that. I've admittedly I just use mine to give like shit anime takes now and stuff like that. So, and then as I've come back slowly, I've like promoted slowly some of the new content and stuff like that. So hopefully, what is that boy doing? Sorry, my son is just like absolutely loving life in the background. I think like yelling.
Aww.
It's a wonderful sound. But yeah, so obviously Greenbirds are looking to keep going, keep publishing, and keep like working on whatever it is they're working on. So what, if I may ask, is there any particular projects in the pipeline? Anything that you're like,
Well, I think the next step is probably just some smaller stuff, if I'm honest.
Yeah, you've just spent a year on something. I can imagine that then like smaller projects would be a nice break from that.
Exactly, yeah. We've got, let me think. There'll probably be some more like encounter packs. So similar to the 50 encounters in the Feywild that's inside the DM's guide. We're doing like a series. Last one we released was 50 encounters for grasslands, and then Underdark and dungeons, and 50 encounters for the forest. So it's like just different, different 50 encounters for different landscape types, basically. And usually a lot of them are kind of non-violent, because I feel there's an overemphasis on when you're rolling for random encounters when you're traveling. It seems to be like something that's predominantly like, oh, they need to attack something, not like let's give them an interesting thing to deal with, or something to see, something to engage with, or some treasure to dig up, or something. I don't know. Like, there's just too much emphasis on the combat aspects of a random encounter that I feel we can deal with. So, I mean, in the let's have a look. I'm just looking on our Trello actually. So we've got 50 encounters for Icy Wastes, which probably ties in with like one of the last ventures they released, Wizards of the Coast released, the Icewind Dale one. 50 encounters at sea, some bard magic items, and we've got an adventure Darvish wrote a couple of years ago, which has been slowly being edited. It's been play tested, and just needs a little bit of a rewrite and an edit, and some illustrations drawn. And then maybe that'll be out later this year if we have the time. I also got the idea to do a bit of OSR crossover as well.
Really?
I'm sort of getting interested in more of the old school play styles.
Fair enough.
I don't know. I kind of got a little bit fed up with 5e recently. For probably like a lot of reasons why a lot of other people I got back to. I mean, got to say, like I played a lot when I was a teenager and into my 20s, and then I kind of, when 3.5 came out, I kind of left the hobby for a whole variety of reasons. And then this more simplified version of 5e came out, and I really enjoyed it straight away. Played a lot of games, several campaigns. Got a lot of friends into it out in Latvia. And but yeah, I don't know. There's just something about it that annoys me. Not just the artwork.
There are lots of criticisms for 5e, but one of the main draw points of it is its simplicity.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I recently picked up Necrotic Gnome's OSE book, which is basically a BX clone, and started a game with some friends who played 5e a lot, and everybody just loved it. Like straight off the bat, easy to use. A little bit of jewelry with the old reverse armor class and Thaco.
Yeah.
But I mean, I grew up on Thaco,
God,
so it's not so much of a problem for me.
no,
But yeah, it's like it was just so quick to run, and exactly what I did with Lane, everything worked quicker, and combat was over in rather than taking forever. It just felt like, I don't. Maybe it's just because it's fresh at this moment for us. But yeah, I'm kind of looking to release some couple of OSE adventures which I'm writing at this point, and will be playtesting on my gullible group of friends. I mean, and a lot of stuff we actually make is so system neutral as well. It can be used in any kind of fantasy game, like especially the encounter stuff and the magic items. Not that hard to just swap it to a different D&D edition, or even a different fantasy role playing game. And the encounters are very system neutral. They're not. There's barely any mechanics in them. Simply because that's not. I don't really like very mechanical D&D. I'm not honest. Like, too many perception checks.
Yeah, I feel as if like with simplicity in like 5e comes multiple things. There's like the over-reliance on checks. Like everybody just wants to roll dice all the time.
Yeah. And I don't mind that. I understand why. It's fun to roll dice.
Yeah.
But it's fun to succeed at something, or see if you can succeed, and even failure brings its own rewards. But it's I think when you get into that style of play, it really slows up the game, and it can turn it into a bit of a slog if everything requires a check, or rather than just, can you do it? Yes, right. Then X happens. Is it a good idea? It should really be at the forefront of it, rather than how many skill checks do I need to roll.
Yeah, and like the and I think the second thing, apart from like that, is sparsity. Like I feel as though a lot, like 5e, whilst I like it, and I'm never going to be like there, like, because much like you, I kind of fell off and then came back because 5e was so simple. As I've played more games, I've looked towards more systems. I've realised that like it's kind of like the 5e is kind of like the equivalent of the Emperor's New Clothes of tabletop RPG games. Like everybody's telling you it's great, and it is to a point, and you realise, but there's nothing else to it. Like we were talking a little bit before this started, like, and we've kind of brushed over it, like, but there's no extra-planar content. Like there is, like there's you get. Like there's literally a spell called Banishment which sends people to different planes. Like there's plane shift, like all these things. You're bashed over the head with the fact there are these alternate dimensions and worlds and stuff, and then there's nothing for them. Even like the couple of adventures that are meant to like touch on it they never go there. Like, so like Elemental Evil, they're like, oh, I'll get to go to the plane of fire, right? No, you just go to this place that's kind of like the plane of fire. It's like, no, I actually want to go. like I want to go take on an elemental in the middle of like a world of fire. I don't want to sit here. And it's just like there are some really weird things that there seems to be a lot of like material for. Like, for example, Strahd, which has like 15,000 like expansions and but they're for just one thing. And then like these massive world building points, there just doesn't seem to be anything else. Like,
yeah, I think there's just you've got the map of the planes in the back of the DMG, or is it Player's Handbook, and maybe like a couple of pages from memory, and that's it.
And I think it literally just says these ones are like, if they're opposite each other on the map, they're like the opposites of one another, sort of thing. And then the DMG's like really surface level, like the city of Brass exists in like, doesn't tell you anything about the city. Like, it just goes, the city of Brass is in the fire elemental plane. Good luck. Like, what? Like, well, surely.
until the manual of the planes came out, first edition wasn't really that much better.
Yeah.
I mean, second edition was the one that really like took that to the next level though with Planescape, and I've been expecting Wizards of the Coast to bring out something similar, because I think like one source book could probably cover it enough that you would get a lot of DMs being able to work with it. But where is it?
Planescape, Spelljammer, like the ability to just go through space, like.
Spelljammer is just another thing, isn't it? I mean, it's always like goofy Star Trek.
Yeah, but it gives you something though. Like there are literally hippos. There's literally like Napoleonic hippos running about in, which are both amazing and ridiculous. Which is like the cool thing. But yeah, like
I think one of the problems is they've been teasing us with this stuff for ages, like giving us little tidbits here and there of like of elements of it. Like they actually did bring that. Was it what they called the Griff? Is it the hippos?
GIF, yeah, GIF.
Yeah. And there was like a Neogi crashed ship in one adventure, and you could get to what was it in the Halls of the Mad Mage? You could get to an asteroid floating outside of the planet. It wasn't Stardock, was it? Because Stardock's in second edition, where you could get to Stardock.
No, it was
from Adamantine. But they've been constantly teasing these things, and the same with the plane material, the planar material. It's like, but you kind of just expect them just put out a big splat book of it and get it out of the way and let people have fun. It up on DM's Guild. That really, if they did, well, I'm sure actually the people on the DM's Guild can't create planar material. Right?
But I feel as if that's a
canon in 5e. But why isn't it there?
Yeah, and I feel like that's my thing with like I feel as if the cop out there is that someone on DM's Guild will run with it. So you've made something for the Feywild, like which is like, and even if you look at what they've recently done something with the Feywild in the terms of Wild Beyond the Witchlight, which fun. I'm not gonna lie, is fun. Like has you just kind of there a bit like, but this is like one. Like this is apparently massive, but it's only one bit. Like, and it's a very specific, like adventure-esque. Like this is the. It's almost like remember when video games had like hard walls in them, where you go to the edge of the map, and even though there's no wall, you just walk against something. It kind of felt a bit like that. Like, and you're like, what? But apparently, like you even mention it that there's like a whole other world out there. Why you stop me? Why you do this?
Well, I think actually what they're doing is they're testing the ground to a degree. You saw it with Ravenloft. Like they brought out Strahd, and it was a big success. So they ended up bringing out the Ravenloft splat book, and I don't know how well that did in comparison, but maybe that's what we're seeing. Brought out which it's called. I'm actually so but they brought that out, and maybe they're testing the ground, see if they bring out something more substantial later on. But maybe they do bring out a proper planner book. I might end up doing another 5e campaign if they do that. But in the meantime, I'm gonna have fun with old school essentials and just use all of like the BX and first edition stuff that is already there, completely adaptable. And even the second edition stuff, like there's all of that material was there, and I can use it.
Yeah, and if you can do like, I mean, it does get me a bit like I might not have that, like, because as much as I want to go back, like, as you can hear, my son, my wife, and everything, like, I'm just there, like. So I usually learn like the rules light systems, like before, whereas like, so that's why D&D 5e was kind of like, this will be all right, because there's a skeleton that you can just work on, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas when you go back to the Jen, my wife's uncle gave us a bunch of, I think, D&D books at one point, and genuinely it like boggled my mind. Like I was like, what? Like, that seems contradictory to what was in the last chapter. I must have missed something. There's something I've missed here. Like, I don't understand. Like,
yeah, I must admit, like the first edition books are so. I really don't like the first edition Player's Handbook and DMG. They're both very badly laid out, and in my opinion, not that well written in terms of allowing the reader to take on information quickly.
no.
And the reason why I really like this, OSE, the Necrotic Gnomes BX clone, is because the layout is so simple. Like each section is 2 to 4 pages, laid out so beautifully. You just read through it, you know what to do, and it's very easy to run straight from the book. As long as you kind of get the couple of like key combat concepts down, it's not that hard. It's not like I mean, the edition that I really properly started playing was second edition, and Player's Handbook in comparison to the first edition was just so much better laid out. It's really easy to follow, like how to do stuff.
I started third edition, and then kind of 3.5 when that started happening. I kind of left, and I was like, I'll come back to this, and then came back during fifth because fourth was apparently like we don't talk about fourth. Apparently, like
I never played it, and I don't know anyone who has, and I have looked through it, and it just seems like a completely different game to me.
Yeah,
my friends who carried on playing after I left the group were just carried on with 3.5, and I think some of them then went into Pathfinder, which is for me like third edition and Pathfinder are just too crunchy. It's just too many options. You don't need that, in my opinion, to run
one of the things,
a role-playing game.
That's one of the things that got me about Pathfinder, because like when I first was coming back and I couldn't find like a 5e game, everybody was obviously playing Pathfinder because I was like, how did you make something that was like already really complicated more complicated? How does that work? Because you're basically the same thing. Let's be honest. Pathfinder and third edition are kind of like the same thing, different paint. Like, and then somehow Pathfinder went, all these things that people find difficult, we're gonna add more. Like, what? Why? I don't understand. Like, so yeah, Pathfinder, and then I've been reading up on 2e because that's had a bit of a Twitter boom recently. The Pathfinder 2e thing. I'm like, what? Like, reading the stuff on that, I'm like, you're not making me like this. I'm actually like really confused by what the hell is going on. So yeah, it's just really interesting when you think about it that way. Like, how did Pathfinder make this more complicated? I don't know, but yeah, no. I think I do really want to support more people on DM's Guild like yourself and like your friends and stuff. It's like I think it's really important that we do that.
I think the DM's Guild is just a hang on 1 second. I just got to deal with the bird. She's getting really chirpy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the food is.
We'll leave this in because we like the bird. The bird sounds so good.
She's only got one leg, so sometimes it's a bit difficult for her to get around if she can't be bothered to fly. Yeah, I think the DM's Guild really for me is like a very good place. It's such a good potential place for diversity of ideas, and I think because so many people kind of like chasing the main themes of the whatever output Wizard of the Coast are producing in that 6-month period, it kind of loses that potential to a degree. No, I must admit, I put my hand up. Like we've done exactly the same thing. Like when Salt Marsh came out, we created stuff for that. When Icewind Dale Adventure came out, we did something for that. And it is a way of jumping on a bandwagon and having some success off of it. But there is so much more that is, open and possible with the platform. And I don't see a lot of content being made for the aspects that we've actually talked about. especially the planar stuff.
Mm.
Like it's there, it's in canon. You can create for it in 5e. Why aren't people doing it?
Like I said, that I think that's Wizards like going, right, we can't be bothered with this bit. You guys pick that up, and then people are making for it. Not a lot.
Well, it's fine.
But...
I mean, in the past, you had Dungeon Magazine where you could like write an adventure and send it in. Like there was still this possibility of having, non-TSR people at that point contribute. I mean, despite the fact that like a lot of the people who wrote for Dungeon are now like, Chris Perkins, I think his first couple of adventures were published in Dungeon. They're now like proper writers, and they use that as a pool of writers for potential releases in the future. But the same as they do with DM's Guild. But yeah, there is just like this. People just seem to be working with the same,
same stuff,
the same tools.
Yeah, I get that. I totally feel that, and I think hopefully eventually we can work out something, get a few more people interested in other things and looking at it. But yeah,
it'll come with time. I mean, like I'm still really curious about this next adventure book that Wizards are bringing out, the Radiant City.
Yeah, because it sounds everybody's like that sounds like Sigil, and Wizards are. Yeah, and everybody, it's either not. It sounds like Sigil, talks like Sigil, but apparently not Sigil. And then you have to read into it more, and it's not actually. I just think that some people have like seen it, like seen the taglines and stuff, and haven't really.
I'm in favor of them making completely new stuff because I also feel that's something they've kind of missed out on. Like the Witchlight adventure, fantastic. It's completely new. It's not been done in D&D before. Why not? Why aren't they creating new, completely new content for D&D rather than just rehashing old stuff?
Yeah,
I'm really dreading the idea that they might potentially bring back Dragonlance or something like that. Because what's the point?
Yeah.
Oh, I've just lost a big load of customer base there.
No, it's
Dragonlance. He's not a Dungeons and Dragons-y person.
Oh no, I'm not a massive fan of Dragonlance. Like maybe because it was like before my time. Like I wasn't really like. I know they've just settled like the lawsuits and everything. Obviously, they had Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, but it was just a bit like. I don't care. Like, I just don't care. Like it's nothing personal. But yeah. So
I don't either. It's done and dusted, really. I don't think there's really much need to go back to it apart from maybe a new novel series, which I probably won't read. But I like this idea of the Radiant City. Like, fantastic. That is new material, completely fresh, and. Bringing something new to the world rather than just rehashing a bunch of old adventures and sticking them together.
Me and my friend once said that if we did an actual play like podcast, we were going to call it "Get Me the Fuck Out of Forgotten Realms," because that's basically the gist of it, isn't it? Everybody kind of wants to get out of Forgotten Realms because we've had the Sword Coast, we've done Baldur's Gate, we've done. Can you just anywhere else? Like Waterdeep. Like, can we anywhere else? Anywhere? Nope.
Just anywhere else in the Forgotten Realms, frankly. Like,
just can we get out of this like fucking weird triangle of like, Waterdeep, Baldur's Gate, the Sword Coast? Like, I'm pretty sure. Like,
I mean, there's so much more to the realms than just that area as well. Actually. I was kind of helping with this collaborative project working on the Shining South area, like reinventing that after the spell plague, but it's kind of like run out of steam, unfortunately. Probably another COVID and work issue affair. But I was kind of really into that idea of like, what would Halru and Lauren look like now? after being flooded and torn away from the realms. But yeah, it's kind of run out of steam, that project. Maybe I'll try and invest it with some energy at some point. But I mean, yeah, I completely agree. Like, the realms is so overdone. I mean, I got bored of it in second edition as well. It was just seems like the default setting for so many people, and there's so much other stuff in previous editions of Dungeons and Dragons that they could reintegrate into 5e. Maybe not Dune. I have not Dune. Come on, God.
What's it? I know what you mean, though.
I mean, it's Sandy and Grimm.
What's it called? Is it Dark Sun?
Yeah, maybe not Dark Sun. I have no idea how they'd actually be able to do that now. But I mean, even like Greyhawk is kind of like it
mentioned, but never actually like done.
Yeah, it's got its own vibe, Oh, it is different from the Forgotten Realms.
No, I agree with that. Greyhawk is way different, and it'd just be nice to have a bit. It'd be nice to have a choice. I think
exactly.
That isn't Forgotten Realms or Homebrew, which seems to be our current thing, because everybody's like Barovia, and it's like even Barovia starts in like the Forgotten Realms. You get kidnapped and you can't go back. I'd say the only one that made me go, "Oh, this is really different," is Chult, like in Tomb of Annihilation. But again, starts in Forgotten Realms if you do it properly. Like just anything different.
Anything. And I mean, it's not like the material isn't there with a huge, like my Star as well. Actually, I'm not sure who owns the IP for that at the moment. I mean, that's really goofy setting. Like, they could do a lot with that. I don't know, or just something completely new.
Yeah.
What about that? Why not just like a brand new setting? But
they've got too many Magic settings to publish, I'm afraid. They've got too many Magic the Gathering settings to publish.
I mean, that's kind of interesting in its own right. I mean, I don't think it's completely for me, but I'm sure like there is such a big crossover between Magic players and D&D players that.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. Like I'm messing literally with a Magic spin down counter. Like I play Magic. Like the only one I want is Innistrad, and they did Innistrad as like not even like a proper supplement, but I'd want like give me a full hardback book of Innistrad, and I tell you what, I'll buy it all the time, because fucking werewolves v vampires v angels v whatever else in the dark, go for it. We're having a gothic good old time. So if that's the case, but yeah, I am aware that we've been going on for a while, so I just wanted to say thanks for coming and talking to me about the product. It is really good. I will advise people to get it because it is really good. It's fun.
Thank you.
It's really well thought out, and I do really appreciate you being kind enough to let me have a copy to like look over, to like do a review of. I'll make sure that goes up on DM's Guild for you and stuff like that. So it generates more buzz and everything. And yeah, thank you very much. Is there anything you want to say, like close out with? Is there anything you want to promote or anything?
I don't know. The vast majority of our products are free, so just go and download them straight off DM's Guild. If you like it, give us some money. But
I'm literally going to go get the Cursed Bloodlines after this conversation.
Our main point is giving back to the community, because like when I started playing D&D, I got most of my stuff from public libraries. With the judicious use of the photocopier, so the access to like free material just to go and have some fun with your friends, I think is like quite important, and to be able to do that on via these platforms is really good.
And thanks for that. That is really helpful, like for people who are on a budget and stuff like that. So even as a company, I've got to say that's pretty dope, and thanks for that, because it does let people get more into the hobby. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and just helps people grow, just to see different styles of writing as well. I'm not saying that ours is like anything amazing, but it is very different to like your general 5e writing. Like having that sort of like diversity of thought brings a lot more to the hobby. And that's another, one reason why I really like the DM's Guild and Drive Through RPG as well.
Yeah,
both platforms.
yeah.
There we go.
So, thank you very much for coming on. If you guys can follow Greenbird RPGs on Twitter, that'd be great. Like you said, like we've said, download their stuff. It's good. But from me, you can find me on all your favorite podcast websites, YouTube. I do some Twitch now and then, not a lot. And yeah, my main thing, as always, is that whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever you are, I hope you're safe, I hope you're well, and I hope that you are happy. And I'll see you in a bit. Bye.
Bye-bye.